I never imagined that buying a car would expose the fault lines in my family. For nearly 5 years, I lived with roommates, skipped vacations, and picked up weekend freelance work. Every extra dollar went into a savings account with one purpose. When I finally drove home in my new car, it wasn't flashy, it wasn't expensive, but it was mine, earned one careful paycheck at a time. My parents smiled when they saw it. My younger sister smiled too, though hers carried the familiar spark that always made me uneasy. She loved excitement. Rules were suggestions. Somehow, every bad decision she made eventually became someone else's responsibility. Growing up, my parents called her free-spirited. I called her unpredictable. A week after I bought the car, I left the keys on the kitchen counter before going to bed. I woke early for work and immediately noticed something missing. The keys. Then I looked through the window. The driveway was empty. My phone rang before panic had fully settled in. An unfamiliar voice introduced himself as a police officer. My sister had taken my car during the night without permission. She'd run a red light, collided with another vehicle, and been arrested at the scene after officers determined she'd committed several traffic offenses. Thankfully, no one suffered life-threatening injuries, but the damage was extensive. I remember sitting in complete silence after the call ended, not because of the car, because I already knew what was coming next. My parents arrived at the station before I did. They weren't asking why she'd taken the car. They were asking how quickly she could get out. When they finally spoke to me, my mother grabbed my hand. "She's terrified." My father added quietly, "The car is just property." I nodded. "I know." Then he continued, "We'll help her place it eventually. Right now she needs a lawyer. We need you to pay the retainer." I honestly thought I'd misunderstood him. "You want me to pay for the lawyer? She's your sister. She took my car without asking." My mother looked exhausted. "If she ends up with a record, it'll follow her forever." I answered as calmly as I could. "So will this lesson, if nobody keeps rescuing her." That sentence changed everything. For the next several weeks, every conversation circled back to the same expectation. Family helps family. Family sacrifices. Family forgives. What nobody seemed willing to acknowledge was that I had already sacrificed enough simply by becoming the person expected to absorb every consequence. When I refused to hire an attorney for her, relatives started calling. Some said I lacked compassion. Others reminded me that accidents happen. Only one aunt quietly asked me a different question. "Did anyone ask how you're doing?" I laughed before realizing I was close to crying. "No." She sighed. I thought so. Life became strangely quiet after that. My parents stopped inviting me to Sunday dinners. Messages became shorter. Birthdays passed with polite conversations instead of warm ones. Sometimes I wondered if maintaining a boundary was worth the loneliness that followed. Then the court date arrived. I wasn't there to celebrate. I wasn't there to punish anyone. I was there because my car and my statement were part of the case. The courtroom was almost disappointingly ordinary. People waited. Lawyers organized papers. No dramatic speeches. Just consequences moving through a system that treated everyone's choices as facts instead of family negotiations. When the discussion turned toward restitution and responsibility, there was a brief attempt to suggest that our family intended to resolve matters privately. The judge listened patiently, then spoke with remarkable clarity. "The responsibility belongs to the individual who committed these offenses. The owner of the vehicle is not obligated to absorb the financial burden created by someone else's unlawful actions." The room became completely still. No raised voices, no anger. Just a sentence that quietly dismantled months of pressure. For the first time, nobody looked at me expecting another sacrifice. My sister stared at the table. Not defiant, not dramatic, just silent. That silence stayed with me longer than any argument ever had. She eventually accepted a plea agreement, completed the required legal penalties, and began paying restitution over time. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But for the first time in her adult life, nobody completed the journey for her. Months later, my mother called unexpectedly. "I think we made mistakes." She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't ask for the forgiveness. She didn't defend the past. She simply admitted something she hadn't been able to admit before. We spent so much time protecting one child that we forgot what it was costing the other. There wasn't a perfect reconciliation after that. Some wounds heal slowly. Some conversations remain unfinished. My sister and I still aren't especially close. We're polite, careful. Maybe one day that'll become something more. The car was repaired, though it never quite felt new again. Oddly enough, neither did our family. But neither remained trapped in the same pattern. I learned that refusing to rescue someone isn't the same as refusing to love them. Sometimes accountability is the only form of help that leaves room for genuine change. When I look back now, I don't remember the twisted metal nearly as clearly as I remember the moment an ordinary courtroom replaced years of misplaced guilt with something far quieter: responsibility. It wasn't a victory over my sister. It was the first time I stopped carrying a burden that had never been mine.